Somewhere in a garage right now, there's a truck frame that should have died years ago. Not because someone spent $500 on professional rust proofing, because someone spent $3 on a powder most people walk past in the baking aisle without a second glance. Mix it with warm water, brush it onto rust, and something strange happens. The rust doesn't get removed, it gets rewritten. What was flaky, orange, and actively eating the metal turns into a hard, dark, waterproof shell, and it happens while you watch. This isn't a new invention, it's chemistry that's been sitting in plain sight for a very long time, and once you understand why it works, you'll never look at a hardware store rust converter shelf the same way again. Here's the problem. Everyone with a garage, a toolbox, or an old car already knows. Rust doesn't wait. You can scrape it off a frame, prime it, paint it, and 18 months later it's back, usually worse, usually right at the seam where your treatment stopped. The commercial fixes are either expensive, a rust proofing service that wants hundreds of dollars to spray something you can't inspect, or they're temporary, a coating sitting on top of corrosion like a bandage on a wound that's still infected underneath. Sand it, prime it, paint it, repeat. That's the cycle most people accept as just how metal works. But there's a category of chemistry that doesn't sit on top of rust. It reacts with it. It treats the rust itself as raw material and turns it into the very thing that stops further corrosion. That idea sounds almost backwards, and that's exactly why it's worth slowing down on. The compound at the center of this is tannic acid, and its relationship with iron goes back further than most people would guess. Tannins are the same bitter, astringent plant compounds found in oak bark, walnut hulls, tea, and the skins of unripe fruit. The reason a strong cup of black tea puckers your mouth. For thousands of years, tanners used tannin-rich solutions to turn raw animal hide into durable leather, which is where the word tanning comes from. Along the way, in workshops across very different parts of the world, people noticed something else. Iron tools that came into contact with these tannin baths stopped rusting the way untreated iron did. Roman-era ironworkers, medieval European tanners, and various historical ironworking traditions across Africa and Asia all left behind traces of tannin-rich plant extracts being used on tools and blades, oak galls in Europe, shea and acacia bark in parts of West Africa, pomegranate rind in Persia, and in some Japanese metalworking traditions, fermented persimmon extract known as kakishibu. None of these cultures had a name for the chemical reaction. They just knew that soaking iron in the right dark liquid made it last. What they were witnessing, without knowing it, was a genuine chemical conversion. Rust, iron oxide, reacts with tannic acid and transforms into a completely different compound called iron tannate, sometimes written ferric tannate. It's a dense, dark, blue-black material that's essentially insoluble in water. It doesn't flake, it doesn't lift, and critically, it isn't just deposited on the surface the way paint is. It bonds directly with the iron ions already present in the corrosion. The rust becomes part of its own solution. Think of it less like painting over a wound and more like a scar forming. The damaged tissue itself reorganizes into something tougher than what was there before. That's a genuinely useful analogy for what's happening at the molecular level. Tannic acid grabs onto the iron ions in the rust and locks them into this new, stable, water-repelling structure. By the 1800s, as organic chemistry matured, scientists began formally documenting these tannin metal reactions, giving precise language to what blacksmiths and tanners had understood through generations of trial and error. And through the 20th century, as industrial corrosion became a massive logistical headache, ships, machinery, and military equipment constantly fighting salt water and humidity, tannin-based treatments became a documented, if unglamorous, part of the anti-corrosion toolkit, including for forces dealing with equipment failing in humid, salt-heavy conditions during the Second World War. It was cheap, it was effective on already rusted surfaces, and it didn't require exotic industrial chemistry to produce. So why isn't this the first thing anyone reaches for? Mostly because of how the modern rust treatment market actually works. Tannic acid is a naturally occurring compound. It comes out of oak bark, tea leaves, and plant material, and you can't patent a molecule that trees have been making for free since before there were companies. A $3 powder you mix in a bucket doesn't support a distribution network, a marketing budget, or a premium retail markup. So what actually happens on hardware store shelves isn't concealment, it's repackaging. Pull the safety data sheet on many commercial rust converters selling for $15 to $30 a bottle, and tannic acid shows up as the active ingredient, blended with solvents and polymers, bottled, branded, and sold at a substantial multiple of what the raw compound costs. That's not a conspiracy. It's just what happens when a cheap, unpatentable natural chemical meets an industry built around margin. Corrosion repair is also a recurring, sizable line item across the auto industry every year, which is exactly the kind of expense that a 45-minute, $3 treatment quietly threatens. None of this means tannic acid replaces every industrial coating. In environments with constant chemical exposure, high heat, or total submersion, specialized commercial products exist for good reason, and some of the surfactants and stabilizers in bottled rust converters genuinely do make application easier and extend shelf life. This isn't a claim that a kitchen bucket solution is 100% permanent in every condition. Nothing is. But for the everyday stuff, a rusting truck frame, garden tools, cast iron pans, farm equipment, an old bike, the underlying chemistry is the same molecule doing the same job at a fraction of the price. If you want to try it yourself, the process is genuinely simple. You can find food-grade tannic acid powder through health food suppliers or online retailers. A small bag goes a long way. Dissolve a small amount into warm water until it looks like strong black tea. That's your working solution. You don't need to sand down to bare metal. In fact, the reaction needs the existing rust to work with, so just knock off loose, flaking material with a wire brush first. Brush the solution onto the rusted surface, and within minutes, you'll start to see the color shift from orange-brown toward a dense blue-black. That visible change is the conversion happening in real time. Let it dry fully, apply a second coat for thorough coverage, and once it's cured, the surface is ready for whatever top coat you want: paint, oil, or wax. Wear gloves. Concentrated tannic acid can irritate skin and eyes, and while it's derived from food-grade sources, treat it with the same basic care you'd give any household chemical. There's something worth sitting with here that goes beyond rust. This is a pattern that shows up again and again. A simple, well-understood solution sitting quietly next to an expensive, branded version of the same idea. Mostly because simple things don't make good business models. Roman tanners, medieval blacksmiths, and Japanese swordsmiths weren't running experiments in a lab. They were paying close attention to what was right in front of them and trusting it. That's the actual lesson worth taking from a $3 bag of powder. Sometimes the fix was never missing. It was just never worth someone else's time to tell you about it. This is Hidden Fix Lab. Go look a little closer at the things you already own.